You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans, America's largest mortgage lender. Spring will be here soon, so if buying a new home is on your to-do list, right now is the time to call Quicken Loans. Learn about which mortgage options make sense for you and get a jump on your competition. With our exclusive Rate Shield approval, the low rate you lock today is protected for up to 90 days while you shop for your new home. With a Rate Shield approval, if rates go up, your low rate stays locked. But if rates go down, you get that new, even lower rate. Either way, you win. Talk to us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com to take advantage. Here's another great reason to work with us. For a record 9 years in a row, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction for primary mortgage origination. Again, to lock in today's low mortgage interest rate and get the security of our exclusive Rate Shield approval, call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
For J.D. Power award information, visit jdpower.com. Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year fixed-rate loans. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. License in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
Hi, welcome to this Subway ad for the new Sesame Ginger Glazed Chicken Signature Wrap. How would you like it?
I'll take a...
Sports announcer at home?
Yeah, how'd you...
We just know.
My wife picks up the new Signature Wrap. It's got double the rotisserie-style chicken mixed with a sesame ginger glaze. She appears annoyed at me, but she shrugs it off. Those sweet and savory flavors are calling her name. She lifts the wrap and she takes the bite! Incredible! And now she's closing the door on my... Subway, make it what you want.
Limited time only at participating restaurants. Double meat basement, average 6-inch sub.
I'm little teapot, short and stout.
Here is my handle and here is my spout.
No, Dad, like this. When I get all steamed up, then I shout, tip me over and pour me out.
This is WWE superstar Roman Reigns. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Visit fatherhood.gov, brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
It's the refreshingly non-political podcast about everything else.
I'm Alan Ray, and I do this for free. Nope. Not a dime paid. Still broke. Even more so now. Happy Friday night, everybody. I am Alan Ray. This is I Do This for Free, the refreshingly non-political podcast about everything else. You know how hard it is to actually produce, find content that's non-political? Go ahead, try it. Dare ya. Maybe it's the world I live in. I don't know. Yeah, the leaves are falling off the tree and somebody says, "Oh, that's this guy's fault." No, it's called nature. Does it every year. Speaking of which, it was cold this morning. Holy crap. 30 degrees when I woke up. Nice thick frost. You know what that means? That means allergy season is officially over and my sinuses can now clear out and life will be good again. Stay tuned. Don't go away. Got a big show for you. This ain't no party. This ain't no disco. I tell you what, if you're out in the mountains running and you're fooling around, you should probably stay armed. I don't know if you saw the video or not of a runner. I guess he was in Utah, and a female mountain lion came off. And it's kind of funny because, you know, when the video come out, you look at all the comments and everything. It was like, oh, my gosh, this person's lucky to be alive. It was chasing him. It could have killed him. My first thoughts were, you know, I grew up pretty much in the country. We were on the edge of town. Anything after our little farm, there was just nothing but fields. But we always had cats. I've always had cats. I got a cat now. I don't know, he's kind of an oddball, but he's still a cat. The big cats act just like the little cats, okay? There's a certain set of actions, of familiarity. Cats are cats. You know, I know the big ones, you know, the mountain lions and the tigers and all that. They do, you know, they're a lot bigger and they do a lot crazier things. But still, they all share a common actions, you know. And the first time I looked at that video, and go to YouTube and look it up, you know, it just says cougar chases runner or something like that. You'll find it on YouTube. And the first thing I looked at, I went, that cougar is not stalking or trying to eat the guy. That cougar is doing exactly what I've seen mama cats do a million times when the dogs get too close to a litter of kittens or to their food or something like that. That mountain lion was chasing that guy away. You know, it was stomping and jumping at him and stopping. No, if that mountain lion, if that cougar, whatever it was, really wanted to get that runner, it had taken about 10 good steps, taking him down, drug him off. That would have been it. It was really not after him. It was chasing him away. And he did. Admittedly, he did the right thing by continuing to back out of the situation and act big and bad and yell at it. You know, he did the right thing. And you know, my first thought was, okay, you know, that cougar wasn't really attacking him. And lo and behold, the very next day, LA Times comes out with an article that says the female mountain lion in a chilling face-off with a solo trail runner in Utah wasn't trying to kill him. The cougar chased Kyle Burgess, 26, sometimes getting as close as 4 feet, as Burgess backed down a wide dirt trail during an October 10th trail run. Burgess was yelling, "Go away, I'm big and scary," and he swore, bent over to pick up rocks to hurl at, but he never took the eyes off the big cat. In fact, he used his phone to film the 6-minute encounter, and it went viral on social media. Reactions were swift, first from viewers who were aghast at the mountain lion's aggressive behavior. Then park rangers and wildlife organizations started weighing in, saying people misunderstood what they were seeing. Experts say the mountain lion's behavior showed she was trying to chase Burgess away from her young, not kill him. So for once, my initial reaction to something was absolutely dead on. That doesn't happen very often. Write this down on your calendars, all right? Usually I go, oh, well, hey, and then I study something and go, oh, whoops, I was wrong, never mind. But no, the big cats act like the little cats. I have seen that behavior time and time again. We have a little cat next door to us. And, of course, my cat, Enrique, he's huge. He's a big old tomcat. Goofy, funny. He runs on the treadmill. I've got videos of him running on the treadmill. It's kind of funny. And the little cat next door, she will send him with his tail tucked between his legs. In fact, she has got all of the neighborhood cats just terrified of her. She's a grouchy little thing. There's a great big, huge orange cat, just a stray that wanders around, and it'll get in my neighbor's yard, and I will see that little cat just run him right off. And a lot of times that's how they act. They stomp and, you know, scatter towards you and stop and scatter towards you and stop. They're scaring you away. So, you know, if you're running in these trails, if you're running in unfamiliar territory or even familiar territory, it's good to know what the threats are. Now, I am a little over a week away from running a half marathon on a set of trails that go through the woods. I've been practicing on them. This is going to be a tough one. I'm not going for time. I'm so not going for time. I just want to finish this without dying. Oh, wow. But the biggest threat on these trails, even it winds up and down hills, through the woods, through fields. I mean, it's some pretty thick, intense stuff. But the biggest threat that you have on these trails is a stupid squirrel running out in front of you and tripping you and you falling down a hill. That's it. I don't think there's any other threats. You might get licked by a dog, which, last week when I was practicing on them, I had a couple of Great Danes run a lap with me. The owner was like, no, they were dragging her. I was like, just let them run with me. I'm just running around this field and I'll be right back here. Just meet me over here. So she did. And they were just so happy to run with me. And there was a pit bull pup that licked my face. I probably would have better times if I didn't stop and pet dogs, but that's just how I am. But anyways, my point is, be prepared as a runner or walker or hiker or whatever. Know the threats around you. I mean, even in Michigan, if you get up farther north and you're just like going through the woods, there are bear. There's all kinds of wildlife. And actually, mountain lions, puma, whatever you want to call them, are actually starting to repopulate in the UP. They've been spotted. Some of them have been, they're saying some of them have been spotted in the lower peninsula. But know your threats. And not only that, but not a bad idea to carry while you're running. I have a little Ruger LCP 380. It's a lot of people go, well, that's not a self-defense weapon. Yes, it is. And we can debate, we can argue all that, but I am a concealed carrier, and I have a pistol wear holster that is made out of neoprene, wraps around you, and you can put that little LCP, tuck it down in there, and it's safe. You don't feel it. You don't feel it at all. Actually, I've run 5, 6, 7 miles, and it just doesn't bother me at all. And especially if you're running in a place, and you are a concealed carrier and you're running in a place you're unfamiliar or, anywhere really, especially if you're a woman, good idea to run armed. Just throwing that out there. These crazy days, crazy times. But I run with that little Ruger LCP because out here in the middle of the cornfields of southeastern Michigan, we have coyotes, we have wild dogs. There's things out there, I rarely ever have issues with humans. I have most issues. In fact, just a couple of years ago, it was kind of a weird scenario. They planted mostly corn around here, and I was being tracked by coyotes. I could tell. I'm running, and a coyote would run like 20 yards out in front of me across the road into the cornfields and behind me, next to it. And then I'd hear something behind me, and I'd turn. One would run behind me. And I could hear them running through the corn, just tracking me, not too far off the road. I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to do something about that. And that's when I started, carrying a little pistol with me when I run. You never know. But anyways, I digress. That got me going down a rabbit hole of, hey, it's 30 degrees out today. And I was sitting here drinking coffee on the front porch going, got to check the winter bug out bag. It's time to get your vehicles ready for winter. Now, not only do you get your car, take your car in, have it checked by a professional mechanic, oil changed, check the tires out, make sure they're good, check everything out. This is the time of year. And if check the age on your battery. If your battery's old, just get it replaced now so you're good through the winter. But this is the time of year where you start thinking now about winter survival going forward. 30 degrees last night. That's cold. That's really cold. That's if you break down and you're out in the middle of nowhere, you could do damage to yourself if you're not careful. So get that winter bug out bag back in your car. I have to unzip mine, take some contents out, look at some things, look at expiration dates. Especially in the snack department and possibly the first aid kit department. Update it, make sure everything's good to go. And remember, I'm going to preach this until the day I die. The big, the rule of survival 3 minutes without air. So make sure you've got something in there you can breathe through. Yes, I have a mask that's a good N95 filtration system. So I've got that in there. This is the age of everybody wearing a mask. So what do you do when they stop wearing masks? Well, or if, you got the ones that wash and wear or whatever, the ones you pull up from your neck, put a couple of them in that bag. Do it. You won't regret it. Likewise, you got 3 minutes without air, 3 hours without warmth. That's your number 2 priority. Blankets in your vehicle. Now, I hear people go, I don't know, I don't have any spare blankets. If you have a Harbor Freight close by, they have these moving blankets there. They're thick. They're pretty nice. They're padded. They're cheap. You can go down there. A lot of times they give them away for free when you buy something else. Get a couple of them, 2, 3, throw them in your vehicle. Not only they might save your life, you might wrap up in them, they might keep you warm. But if a picnic accidentally breaks out, you can throw them on the ground and if you're driving somewhere with your sweetheart and you're like, hey, let's have a picnic, you got them in your vehicle, keep them in there year round. You can throw one out on the lawn, or if you want to go to a baseball or football game or something like that. And if they get wrecked, who cares? They were almost cheap, they were cheap enough, and some of them times they give them away that's free. You can just scrap them and go get another one. So that's a good thing to keep in your vehicle all year round, blankets. If you come up on a wreck and somebody needs, a blanket put over them, they're going into shock, something like that. And if you have to leave them at the scene, it doesn't matter. You can go buy another one. So little life hack there. Visit your local Harbor Freight, and a lot of times you can get these things for next to nothing. I've got 2 or 3 of them in my vehicle. I've got a couple of tarps just in case. It's one of them deals. I've got a tarp in my bug out bag, and I got a couple of them in a pickup truck because, pickup truck. A lot of times you haul things and you end up having to use them. And what really got me thinking about this, of course, is my daughter got married a couple of weeks ago now. And she had a trellis, an arch. And it was going to be an outdoor wedding. It had to, at the last minute, get moved indoors. But that trellis was kind of obnoxious, and it was trying to lean, trying to tip, and we needed to anchor it. And it's just like, we needed some ropes or something and stakes to drive them in. I went, well, hang on, wait a minute, ran over to my truck, and I had paracord and I had tent stakes. And they all looked at me like, why do you have paracord and tent stakes? I'm like, don't ask, just let's anchor this down. Because I have all the makings of a shelter in my bug out bag. It's primitive. It will keep you out of the elements. It won't, it's not a permanent house. It's not a tent, but I have tarps. I have tent stakes. I have paracord. None of it weighs hardly anything. And if you had to, you can make a primitive shelter, which, you think about it one way or another. What happens if, everything goes downhill and you have to evacuate real quick and you end up someplace and there's no place for shelter, no place to sleep. You got to build your own. Or now hear me out. You're at a wedding and something needs to be anchored down and you're the only one that has tent stakes. It's not just about survival, folks. I have used the stuff in that bug out bag more for just odd situations like that than anything else. And you end up being the hero. But, nonetheless, there's other things that you might want to do. You might be somewhere on a beach or something like that on an excruciatingly warm day and you want a quick shelter. You can just throw something like that up and go, oh, look, we've got shade. How cool is that? So, always good to keep that and update that bug out bag for winter starting now. So you have 3 minutes without air, have a mask, something like that to filter air, 3 hours without heat. Get something to keep that body temperature up. And, there's a lot of people, survivalists, stuff like that, go in a bug out bag. You really don't need any food for a 3-day bag. I disagree. And here's why I disagree with that. Food is calories. Calories is energy. Energy is warmth. Enough said. I'm not going to stick on this too long because I've preached enough about it. And then, of course, 3 days without food or water. So I always have water purification, one of those life straws. 3 days without water, if you got a life straw, a couple of bottles of water in your vehicle that you can, put in a little bag you can tote around with you too if you're going somewhere. And I always have freeze-dried food in my bag because I've got water in my truck, so I got freeze-dried food too. I've got a way to boil the water or make food. I have a little cook set. In my summer bag, I just have a little titanium cup, but I always have those little Esbit stoves with little fuel gels. Takes about 3 minutes, boom, you can boil water. You never know when that's going to save your butt. Not just for the food aspect, but I also keep tea and tubes of instant coffee in there. Instant coffee sucks. Yes, I know. But if you end up somewhere stranded, you end up somewhere in the middle of nowhere, you end up someplace inconvenient, and you just would die for a cup of coffee or stab someone in the back for one, because coffee, it's better than nothing. So there you go. Get those bags ready for winter. Get them in your car. 30-degree nights is on us right now. When I see people just jump into a vehicle and take off on long trips totally unprepared, I just cringe. It just makes me just, oh my gosh, why would you do that? Well, I don't need a coat. I don't get cold. Well, you will get cold if you break down and there's no way to get to you for several hours. You got to think like that. You don't have to wear a coat in a vehicle, but have something in the bag. Now, I go a little extreme. I actually have a bag that I will put behind the seat of my truck that has all my winter gear, or at least my winter gear that I have in case of emergency. I've got duplicate sets here in the house, but it has like really thick thermal coveralls. It has a heavy coat, has boots, warm boots, extra thick socks to throw in there, a good hat that pulls down over your face if you need it for a face mask, thick gloves. I put that behind the seat because I don't get out of work until 11:30 at night. A lot of times on my way home, the roads aren't plowed. I run across people off in ditches or needing help. And a lot of times it's like, okay, I've got stuff to throw on and get out there and help them. And plus sometimes, a couple of times, you get caught at work and it's snowing like crazy and it's all hands in the cook trying to remove snow and trying to get things done. You put all that stuff on and you're ready to rock and roll. So get the warmth stuff. Get the warmth stuff. Food, as far as food goes, yes, I'll say it. You can go 3 weeks without food, but calories equal energy, equal warmth. Get yourself some calories in there. Peanut butter packs, beef jerky, things that are dense, high-calorie food. A lot of people put those survival cake things in them that, are like, these are survival things. You can last for days on them. Yeah, but they taste like dirty feet. They're nasty. Blech. And maybe have some of that around your house, or if you feel good about it, throw a couple of bars of those things in your glove box or something. But oh my gosh, those things are disgusting. I don't recommend trying to live off of them for 3 days. If you feel that need, get some freeze-dried food. Make sure you have water with you. You need water anyways, and you can actually make some pretty good meals. So there you go, winter bug out bag. Do it now. So we're only 24 minutes into this, and I'm rambling on about getting your winter bug-out bags ready. So let's talk about some other things. Is everybody doing okay? Since 2020 has just been a nightmare. And I've often wondered about this. I've said this on other shows that what's going on in 2020, and I really don't want to talk about the Rona, okay? I really don't want to talk about COVID-19. We're going to touch on it, but it's the main reason that things are so screwed up in 2020. Not to mention it's an election year, not to mention that there's chaos in the streets and people are, rioting and burning things down, and stupidity and illogic seems to be reigning right now. But everything that's going on seems to be amplifying. And if you're mildly depressed, if you have mild symptoms of mental illnesses or mental problems, 2020 seems to be amplifying the heck out of them. And I'm not saying this to make light of mental illness. I'm dead serious. If you have a little bit of issue, everything going on in 2020 is amplifying that issue 1,000,000%. We have never, in my lifetime, and I don't think ever, have shut the entire nation down, the entire world down because of the flu. Yet that's what we did. And it turned from, we're just going to do it for 2-3 weeks, to flatten the curve, to we're going to keep everything shut down until we find a vaccine, which is illogical, stupid, makes no sense whatsoever. Now, even the World Health Organization, a lot of members of that, and there's another group of people that I'm not going to really touch on in this show, who are out there saying, look, by keeping everything shut down, we are causing more chaos and more death than this disease. We are causing long-term poverty, long-term starvation, long-term economic crises. And, no matter what you do, even if there is a cure for this pandemic, it's not even a pandemic anymore. It's just the flu. And yes, it's spiking again because we are going into winter where everybody's going to go inside and be near each other again. You can't help it. By keeping everything locked down, you're just adding to the problems. Let everything go. Let everybody get back to normal. And we'll fight. Now that we know more about this flu, about this coronavirus, we can fight it on a daily level. But in the meantime, you have people out there who have never had depression, never had anxieties, never had a mental issue, who all of a sudden find themselves having them, who are melting down, who are having issues. And I happened to scroll through this. What is this? New York Times. And of course, they're going to be a little political, and I'm just going to ignore their politics. You have to understand that researchers, where is it? Let me just go through this, and it might be a little political, and I really don't care. Which was the saddest day of them all? This is the question you may be asking yourself, surveying the wreckage of 2020 thus far. Okay, so far I agree with this. There are so many contenders to consider. Was it Thursday, March 12th, the day after Tom Hanks announced he was sick, and the NBA announced it was canceled? Monday, June 1st, the day peaceful protests were tear gassed? Oh, well, whatever. That was a lie. Actually, it was neither. According to the Computational Story Lab of the University of Vermont, instead, the lab offers this answer. Sunday, May 31st. That day was not only the saddest day of 2020 so far, it was also the saddest day recorded by the lab in the last 13 years, or at least the saddest day on Twitter. Researchers call it the hedonometer. It is the invention of Chris Danforth and his partner Peter Dodds, both trained mathematicians and computer scientists, and the co-director of the lab. The hedonometer has been up and running for more than a decade now, measuring word choices across millions of tweets every day, the world over, to come up with moving measures of well-being. In fact, the last time New York Times checked in with the hedonometer team in 2015, the main finding to emerge was our tendency toward relentless positivity on social media. One of the happiest years on Twitter, at least for English. Dr. Danforth recently with a note of Rue. That result now seems an artifact from an ancient era. Since then, it has been a long decline. What has remained constant is this. Happiness is hard to know. It's hard to measure, he said. We don't have a lot of great data about how people are doing. The Computational Story Lab is part of a small but growing field of researchers who try to parse out our nation's mental health through the prism of our online life. After all, never before have we had such an incredible stockpile of real-time data, what's known as our digital traces, to choose from. And let me stop right there, and I've said this a lot. The thing about social media, Facebook, Twitter, whatever, Parler, whichever one you're on, it seems to me, and I've noticed this quite a few years ago, that on social media, people, because it allows you to be anonymous, and I'm not going to try to say anonymity. I just said it. Look at there. It allows you to remain fairly anonymous, yet throw out your thoughts, the deepest recesses of your thoughts a lot of times. And that's what these guys do is they collect these things. They collect certain words and they measure overall feelings of the Twitter society, what I call the Twitterverse or the Facebookverse. And this is interesting stuff. This is like a psychology indicator, this hedonometer. Now it says, and never has that stockpile of information towered as high as it does now in the summer of 2020. In the first months of the pandemic, Twitter reported a 34% increase in daily average user growth. Without our normal social life as antidote and anchor, our social media now feels more like real life than ever before. Since 2008, the hedonometer has gathered a random 10% of all public tweets every day across a dozen languages. The tool then looks for words that have been ranked for their happy or sad connotation, counts them, and calculates a kind of national happiness average based on which words are dominating the discourse. On May 31st, the most commonly used words on English language Twitter included terrorist, violence, and racist. This was about a week after George Floyd was killed near the start of the protest that would last all summer, which, as you know, a lot of those turned extremely violent, some deadly. Some weren't protests at all. They were just simple riots and looting. Anyways, since the beginning of the pandemic, the hedonometer sadness readings have set multiple records. This year, there was a full month, and he says, we've never seen this. There was a full month of days that the hedonometer was reading sadder than the Boston Marathon day. Our collective attention is very ephemeral. So it was really remarkable when the instrument for the first time showed this sustained depressed mood, and then it got even worse when the protest started. So we're not doing okay. This hedonometer measures, and to me this is interesting because I'm kind of a fan. I'm a student of psychology, and it kind of confirms what I've been thinking all along is we are in a societal depression. We may be financially hanging in there for now. Mentally, we're losing it, people. Find a way to get happy. Now, I'm not going to sit here and pontificate and preach to you like I'm some kind of expert. I'm no expert. I did, however, beat this whole falling into the depression, falling into the sadness. I mean, let's face it. I've had a rough year. I've lost my mother. Things have happened this year. You know, we've had to plan this wedding, and at the last minute, all the plans just went jacked, and we had to replan the wedding in 1 month. Of course, we did pull it off. Very happy occasion. However, you know, I've had personally to try and keep a positive mental attitude all year. It wasn't easy, but the biggest things have been exercise, plenty of fresh air, sleep at 6 to 7 hours. Now, this past week has not been a good sleep week. I've been averaging 5.5 hours. I'm back to 6.5, 7 hours, which is my prime spot. But, you know, my wife and I, at 31 years of marriage coming up next week, have found new joy in each other's company. We're empty nesters now. We spent the summer, especially on the weekends, having dinner on the patio. And those dinners would turn into 2-hour dinners where we would just, after dinner, we would just move things aside and just sit out on the patio and talk like we were newlyweds or something. And finding joy in simplicity. Instead of freaking out over what you're missing, freaking out over things that aren't the same. Everything changes. Things always change. It's just what you got to deal with. But, you know, we have to get ourselves happy again. My personal advice is limit your social media time. In fact, I started doing that recently, and I think I'm going to actually limit it even more, where less than a half hour a day. You get up in the morning, check in with all your friends, check in to make sure the world's not melting down, get on with your life. Maybe check in again at night before you go to bed. I think that's going to be a practice of mine because really, honestly, social media just drags me down a lot. There's so much more out there. Get on that bucket list. Learn to play a musical instrument. You know, I'm a bass guitar player. I've been a bass player since I was 15 years old. This year, I've actually gotten myself down to the point where I'm playing a regular acoustic guitar, electric guitar, and I'm actually starting to get fairly good. In fact, I'm thinking about doing a 2-hour solo show. I've gotten to the point where I feel I'm getting that good. Practice, 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 practice. But there you have it. Get yourself happy again. Happiness comes from within inside. Yet you can be in the worst situation in the world and still be content with life. It doesn't come from outside sources. It comes from inside of you. And a lot of it, from personal experience, I can tell you, is the day you make up your mind you're going to be content, you're going to be happy, is the day of a good journey. All right, I'm done preaching. You can turn everything back up now. When we come back, we're going to talk about some really odd, cool stuff. Don't go anywhere. We're at the bottom of the hour. I'm Alan Ray. This is I Do This for Free. Stay tuned. We'll be back.
Listen now and don't forget, if you go for that solid jive, you can always keep the dream alive. Palin, palin, palin with Al.
My son was in the Army back during Desert Storm, but even then he wanted an MBA. He looked at a dozen schools, but only one offered the online education and flexibility he needed while he was in a tent in Iraq, Grantham University. Turns out that Grantham's been delivering affordable, relevant college and advanced degrees for over 65 years. Heck, if they can deliver a quality education to a soldier in a tent overseas, think about the flexibility Grantham can offer you so you can earn your degree too. It doesn't matter how complicated or full your life is, if getting a degree is on your bucket list, you'll want to do what my son did. You'll want to call Grantham. Find out how easy it is to get started on your education so you can check that college degree off your bucket list. Call Grantham right now, 800-910-1370. That's 800-910-1370. Flexible, affordable, relevant. Call 800-910-1370.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-783-0810 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-783-0810. Again, that's 800-783-0810.
There was a magical night about a year ago. I just started doing this show, and it was one of those nights where everything aligned. I was doing this show. Rowdy Rick Robinson, the boss of KLRNRadio, was doing a show after mine. He was doing America Off the Rails at the time. And this was before Politics Free Friday Night started every other week on KLRNRadio.net, America's podcast network, by the way. And I brought a story to you about the United States Navy. We're starting to open up channels to openly investigate UFO sightings. Now, they don't call them UFOs anymore. They call them unidentified aerial phenomena. UFOs has such a bad connotation. They wanted to get away from that thing. Well, I bought this story, and then lo and behold, Rick started talking about it with Lou, the very same story. And I kind of hit, the Twitter button or the response button in the chat room and said, hey, I did this story too. And I think they were doing the show before me at the time. And then I was like, coming up, I did this too. And Rick's like, oh, we don't want to take anything away. It's like, no, this is cool. Keep reporting it. And then on America Off the Rails, I ended up calling Rick Robinson and talking all the way home. And that actually inspired, what we were talking about, this UFO thing and how the Navy is finally starting to take things seriously, even though the Navy, the Air Force, anybody that's flown a plane has known that there's weird stuff flying around in the sky that we can't explain. They're starting to take it seriously. And Rick and I started talking about this. We ended up going 45 minutes on his show. I didn't mean to hijack his show, but I actually was on a show all the way home, driving home from work, and we were actually just discussing it. And that's what started his show, Juxtaposition, which is probably one of the coolest shows on KLRNRadio. I know they're not going to be doing this tonight. Rick's on vacation, so they're taking a little bit of a break, but that's fine. It's still, go through Juxtaposition. It's good stuff. Rick and Orty do just a great job on it. But that's what started the whole beginning of Juxtaposition, is Rick and I going off on this tangent. And then he's like, you know what? That made up my mind. I'm going to actually start this show and start, and the next thing you know, we've got Politics Free Friday Night every other Friday night here on KLRN Radio. Of course, on the opposite Fridays, you can hear me ranting and raving and politics and everything else on the Hardcore Patriot, but you got to pick and choose. But anyways, that story continues to surface. Now, according to space.com, scientists are calling for a serious study of unidentified aerial phenomena. We have solid evidence, solid videotapes from the United States Navy, from these jet pilots who track these things, and we want to know what they are. Are they little men from Mars? And again, I said this, the night Rick and I were talking, and I'll say it again. In my own mind, it's a matter of possibility versus probability. Is it possible we have aliens circling around this planet studying us? Well, anything's possible. Anything you can imagine is possible. Is it probable that somebody from a different planet traveled light years and light years and light years away just to come down in here and screw around with jets and, not really make themselves known, but just observe? Probably not. So what are UFOs? Well, that's what scientists want to know. In August, the Navy established an unidentified aerial phenomenon task force to investigate the nature and origin of these odd sightings that they've been seeing and determine if they could potentially pose a threat to the U.S. national security. The recently observed UAPs, they call them UAPs now, not UFOs. Get that technology, get the terminology straight, kids. The recently observed UAPs purportedly have accelerations that range from almost 100 Gs to 1,000 Gs, far higher than a human pilot could survive. There's no air disturbance visible. They don't produce sonic booms. These and other oddities have been captured the attention of I told you so there UFO believers. But there's also a rising call for this phenomenon to be studied scientifically, even using satellites to be on the lookout for possible future UAP events. So, the next little section of this is wanted high-quality evidence. Philip Alaris, a project controller at the European Space Agency Space Research and Technology Center in the Netherlands. He's also the primary force behind the Unidentified Aerospace Phenomena Observation Reporting Scheme, a project to facilitate the collection of UAP reports from both amateur and professional astronomers. There's a need for the scientific study of UAPs and a requirement to assemble reliable evidence, something that could not be so easily ignored by science. It's necessary to bring scientists objective and high-quality data. No one knows where and when a UAP can potentially appear, hence the difficulty in scientific research in this domain. So, they're actually going to start taking this seriously. Now, again, do I believe they're from another planet? No. I could be proven wrong because anything's possible. Anything's possible. If they do come out and say, yes, these things are from a different planet and they've been studying us and they have little people inside that have been observing us, I would say, well, okay, probability tanks again because there's always that possibility. There is always a possibility. Probability is we are dealing with a phenomena. We are dealing with something we just don't understand. Go back and read ancient scripts. Go back and read the Old Testament in the Bible. Go back and read different things. What were these watchers that the book of Enoch, if you've ever read the book of Enoch, what were these watchers, those from above who came down? Angels, the phenomenon that Ezekiel witnessed in the book of Ezekiel. What were these? They used the words they had at the time to explain the technology or whatever they were looking at, whatever they were seeing. And, I'm not taking away from the Bible, religion. I am a Christian. I believe in things, but I also am aware enough to realize that some things happened back then that they could not explain, so they assigned what they believed was the truth to them. And it makes me wonder. It really does. I mean, I have no answer for that. But is there things on this planet that we just still don't understand? Remember, in time, looking at the human existence, we have just taken to the sky. We are infants. We are in the infancy stage of flight. It's just happened over the past 100 years. And yes, I know we're going to the moon, we're doing this, we're doing that. But we still haven't really dominated flight. We still have plane crashes. We still have rockets that blow up. We haven't dominated the theory of flight yet. And if there is something else on this planet who has that can pull 100 Gs, that can pull 10 Gs, whatever, and do it, shift things around, move from one, going down one avenue and all of a sudden completely changing directions at 100 Gs and taking off, we need to know what they are. And being able to possibly capture whatever one of these things are, or at least study one closely, maybe we can dominate the whole idea of flight. And I know, some of the arrogant scientists will probably argue and debate this with me, but yes, we are in our infancy of flight. We've only been flying 100 years. We've been walking for thousands. We've been driving for a little over 100 years. Before, the wheel has been around forever and ever and ever, and we just, in the frame of human existence, we just got smart enough to go, hey, what if we take something that just automatically transmits power and put it on there so we don't have to use horses anymore? And now look where we are today. Yes, we've progressed quite rapidly. But, there's still a lot of progressing to do. So, yeah, I encourage this science. I encourage them to actually take this seriously. There is so much evidence and so many stories and so many videos that can't be explained out there. And apply them to modern day science. Figure out what's going on. Maybe it's some kind of a creature we don't know that we've got flying around out there. But I'm just saying, we've come a long way, but we've got so far to go. And like right now, we're talking about self-driving cars. There are test cars on the highways right now that are self-driving. I personally foresee problems. And I've said this before, self-driving cars depend a lot on sensors, GPS, especially sensors and computers to keep you on the road, keep you from running into other things, stopping when it needs to stop, going when it needs to go. When one of those sensors screws up, when one of those sensors starts giving out false data, you look in Michigan, we are the salt road capital of the year. And, sensors just corrode, they go bad. I am somebody who has worked in the automotive industry for 30 plus years. So I know that sensors can give false codes. I know that computers can give bad data. Things go wrong. I didn't think of this one, though. When you're talking about self-driving cars, ZDNet came out and said self-driving cars can be forced to brake by hijacked billboards. Security researchers have demonstrated how hijacked billboards could be used to confuse self-driving cars, forcing them to slam on their brakes or worse. Autonomous driving systems have come on leaps and bounds in recent years, but not without mistakes, confusion, and accidents occurring. Now, I, for one, know for a fact, let me get off this, that some of these self-driving buses, and we have one where I work, a lot of times their sensors were identifying water puddles, mud puddles, the moisture content in the mud puddle, thinking it was a human being in the road and stopping and not going. And they had to be overridden to keep going. Okay, we're not perfect yet. Does that mean we should stop making these vehicles? By no means. Keep working at it, keep working at, people, I hear people on both sides of the aisle arguing over electric vehicles. Yes, it takes a lot to make them. And are they as damaging to the planet as fossil fuel vehicles? Yeah, they are, actually. To make an electric vehicle is a lot more toxic than a regular vehicle. But we'll get there. We'll get there. Keep working on different drives. Keep working on different ways to power cars. Eventually, we're going to do something where it says, hey, we can just put this vehicle out on the road and it just drives itself without, conventional power. It's just got a solar bank on it or something like that just keeps it going. We'll get there. So keep doing this stuff. Don't force it on people. You've got governments that are forcing, trying to demand that we are completely fossil fuel free in just a few years. That's not going to happen. I can guarantee it's not going to happen. But keep working towards renewable energy. There's nothing wrong with that. But anyways, I digress. Let's get back to this story. Vehicle intelligence has a long way to go before it could be considered fully autonomous and safe to use without the supervision of human driver. And as technology firms continue to refine their platforms, the focus tends to be on weather conditions, mapping, and how cars should respond to hazardous objects, such as people in the road or other cars. However, as reported by Wired, there may be other unseen hazards that human cannot detect with the naked eye. New research conducted by academics from Israel's Ben-Gurion University of the Negev suggests that so-called phantom images, such as stop signs created from flickering lights on an electronic billboard, could confuse AI systems and prompt particular actions or movements. This can not only cause traffic jams, but also more serious road accidents, with hackers leaving little evidence of their activities and leaving drivers perplexed over why their smart vehicle suddenly changed its behavior. This is what I'm talking about, people. Light projections spanning only a few frames and displayed on an electronic billboard could cause a car to brake or swerve, security researchers said. And I'm not going to read much more of this because I got a couple more things I want to get on, but if you think your self-driving vehicles are going to happen in the next year or two, they've got a ways to go. They really do. So think about that. I encourage these scientists and stuff like that to keep bringing this stuff out. Keep working with it. Keep whittling down the problems, the issues, and eventually we'll get there. But let the scientists do their work. Don't force them to hurry up. When you force science into a hurry, you get bad science. You get bad technology. Let them do their jobs. That's why we keep government out of science. A few more things before I head out. 2 big chunks of space junk nearly missed each other last night. Apparently, they came darn close. One of them was a spent Chinese rocket body. The other one was a defunct Russian, I think, I don't know, some kind of Russian junk up there. They came very, very close to smacking into each other last night, just off the coast of Antarctica. Leo Labs pre-encounter analysis suggested that the 2 objects would miss each other by just 82 feet. That is darn close. And that would have, if they would have smashed into each other, would have caused a nightmare scenario. It was a dead Russian satellite. Yep. Chinese, if they would have hit each other, there would have just been more space junk floating around the atmosphere. Now, I'm going to throw this out here. Space junk is a problem. I mean, there is a site that actually sits up there, and I mean, they track all of the space junk. They have to, so it doesn't end up flying through one of our satellites or through the International Space Station or something like that. Eventually, it's going to become a bigger and bigger and bigger problem. If these 2 big chunks of metal satellites would have hit each other, they would have shattered into thousands of pieces, and we'd add even more. I propose this to these, independent, your Elon Musks and these people like that. Come up with an actual space program, and somebody's going to do this. And I wish I was a lot younger, because I would jump into the space research and do this myself. Somebody is going to come up with the idea eventually to start launching a space shuttle-looking rocket that goes up there and starts retrieving space junk. Space garbage men. Why not, right? Launch once launching becomes cheaper and more efficient and more safe, start sending people up there in something that looks like one of the old space labs or something like that. Go up there, open the doors, reach out there, grab a chunk, 3 or 4 chunks of space junk, bring it back down and recycle it. Got it? There's your mission. Get on it. We're back up at the top of the hour. I can't believe it already. My gosh. I think we've covered quite a bit today. It's not too bad. I'm Alan Ray. Thank you for joining me. Stay tuned Sunday night, 8 o'clock live for Circumspise, the right side of Michigan. I will be back, and I do that Sunday night program completely live. You can get into chat. You can harass me, pick on me, whatever the guys do there, and trust me, they do it. And it's a fun thing to do. It's all about Michigan from a conservative point of view. And to me, it's one of the easiest things to do. I've already got most of the show ready to rock and roll. It's pretty cool. So stay tuned. It's going to be fun. Like I said, Juxtaposition, I think, is going to be a rerun tonight. Enjoy your weekend. Get out. Get some fresh air. I know it's cool out there, but wrap up. The sun's shining. It's beautiful. It's going to be a gorgeous weekend. Rake leaves. Get fresh air. Get yourself happy. Keep yourself happy. Remember, that all comes from inside. And let's work on that space junk program, can we? I'm Alan Ray. This is I Do This for Free, the refreshingly non-political podcast about everything else. God bless you. We'll talk again soon.